call on Dr. Rami Khoury to give the first presentation.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, fellow panelists, and thank you all for coming out today and giving us this chance to have a discussion all together about what I believe are the most historic and epic developments since the birth of the modern Arab state system at the hands of retreating European colonial powers about a century ago. I say this is the most important period in the modern history of the Arab world because I believe it is the first time collectively, spontaneously, and indigenously, we see tens of millions of Arab men and women demanding not only their rights as citizens, but the re-legitimization of their state system and their power structure. This has never happened before. Self-determination is what we are witnessing now, the first attempt by collective citizens of the Arab world to exercise their right of self-determination. They've had statehood, they've had sovereignty, they've had independence, they've had a seat at the UN, they've had football teams at the World Cup, they've had every symbol of statehood, but they haven't had the most important symbol of statehood, which is self-determinant citizens who exercise true sovereignty. In other words, they can make decisions for themselves in the best interest of their own people. I believe this is the most important period in the modern history of the Arab world because it touches on the two poles of nationhood and statehood, the citizen at the lowest level, the smallest level, the individual citizen, and the state at the top level. Both of them have been badly mangled and distorted and made vulnerable by the difficult modern history that this region has experienced, with many huge problems: the Arab-Israeli conflict, Western armies, indigenous poor governance, corruption, mismanagement, extremist movements, all kinds of now environmental distress, many problems. But the single biggest problem, and I believe the most common cause of the weaknesses of the modern Arab world, especially the last generation since the 1970s, when the modern Arab system was essentially captured by the concept of a security state that was strongly defended and supported and armed and financed and allied with Western and in the old days Eastern powers. The strongest problem, the most important problem, was the humiliation of the citizen and the delegitimization of the state. And I believe what we're seeing today is citizens demanding that their humiliation ends, their vulnerability ends, and that they enjoy their rights as citizens and as human beings, and to reconstruct a functional, responsive, humane Arab state system that reflects the fundamental values of Arab citizens, whatever their nationality, whatever their sect, whatever their sentiment. This is, I think, what we are seeing now. And I would just make a few points about this. This is a revolution, a revolt. I call it an Arab Citizen Revolt. It's a revolt about biology, not ideology. In other words, it's a revolt about human beings that are demanding to manifest their humanity, to be treated decently, to have opportunities to grow, to use all of their senses, all of their human senses, to read, to speak, to hear, to debate, to enjoy art, to listen to music, to walk in the street with whoever they want to walk in the street with, to dress the way they want to dress. Fundamental rights of humanity. There's very little ideology so far in what we have seen in the revolt. And once people are rehumanized and they have their citizen rights, they will then address policy issues, Arab-Israeli, the Western world, inter-Arab relations, education system, tax systems, relations with Iran, relations with Israel. All of these issues will come in the second phase, but they can only be done by re-legitimized self-determinant citizenries. And this is, I believe, the process that is underway. The second point I would make is that what we are seeing with the extraordinary common emphasis on constitutional change across the region, it's one of the few common denominators. Everybody who is in revolt wants constitutional change. Some of them want to get rid of their leaders, some of them want to do other things, but everybody wants to rewrite the Constitution. What that means to me is that constitutions and law matter. They make a difference to Arab citizens. And this is one of the most heartening things, I think, that we can take from what's going on now. And this emphasis on constitutional change strikes me as the single most important focal point that everybody should be focusing on: citizens, ordinary people, political groups, civil society, educators, private sector. We must have a re-legitimized constitutional foundation for both the concept of statehood and citizen, the rights of the citizens, the responsibilities of the citizens, the obligations of the state, and the limits of the power of the state. The third point I would make is that it's too late for reform. Many of the Arab governments that have been challenged have started making reforms with very little credibility. It's too late for reforms. What you need to do is re-legitimize the whole power structure. And this is a very easy process to do if you consult your own people. And I think this is the emphasis that we're seeing in places like Tunisia and Egypt that have started this process. When the government makes certain moves, citizens often push back and say, look, that's not enough. What we need is to go further. So the re-legitimization of power structures is the goal. And when you hear people saying they're going to make serious reforms, you should not take it very seriously, because it's not very serious. The last 2 points I would make is that it's really important to understand the operative point that I believe we should take from this in terms of political action and change, which is that citizens matter. These are Khalid Saeed and Mohammed Bouazizi. I don't know if you know these fellows. You probably have heard their names. This is a picture that I keep in my office. These are extraordinary people. They're both dead. Khalid Saeed died probably under police torture in Egypt and Alexandria, and Mohammed Bouazizi set himself on fire. These sparked the citizen revolt. These are the two young men who sparked the citizen revolt of the Arab world. The lessons to us are that individuals can make a difference. They didn't die intentionally. They tried to live, but they ended up dying. They paid a price for their quest for liberty. But the point is that individual human beings can make a difference, and when they died, many others followed to pursue their mission. Through meetings, through the media, through Facebook, through public demonstrations, and they're still doing it now. Khalid Saeed and Mohammed Bouazizi, to me, are the Rosa Parks and the Lech Walesa of our generation in the Arab world. Individual people whose pain captured the pain of hundreds of millions of other people like them, and who refused to acquiesce in their own dehumanization at the hands of their own societies. Not foreign occupiers, not foreign armies, their own governments, their own societies. They stood their ground, they stood up, and they demanded their humanity. And they changed the history of the world. Rosa Parks with the civil rights movement in the United States, and Lech Walesa 10 years later overthrowing the entire Soviet Union, Soviet Empire. Mohammed Bouazizi and Khalid Saeed, I believe, are similar figures of historic proportions who stood up and manifested the dehumanization that was prevalent throughout all of their societies, which is why tens of millions and perhaps hundreds of millions of people have stood up since they died. And Mohammed Bouazizi is particularly important because in Tunisia, it wasn't just that the police lady overthrew his vegetable cart. That's not why he set himself on fire. He set himself on fire because after he was mistreated by that lady, the police lady, he then went to the governor's office and nobody would listen to him. He tried to get a redress of grievance through the existing constitutional means. It didn't work because the constitutional system wasn't serious, and that's why people want to change constitutions. So the last point I would make is that individuals matter. In life and in death, individuals can make a difference, and I think what we need to keep in mind is that all of us, students, teachers, administrators, whatever we are, Arabs, foreigners, we can all make a difference simply by playing our role as citizens, demanding our rights, and understanding that this revolt that is underway now is probably going to change the Arab world, but it'll take time. It'll take years and years and years, but a process has been unleashed similar to what Lech Walesa and Rosa Parks unleashed, and it's very important for everybody to play their role, whatever it may be, to speak out, to write, to attend a meeting, to go to a rally, to write a letter to your political leaders, whatever people can do. Everybody must play a role to win the central battle of the modern Arab world, which is the rehumanization of citizenship and the re-legitimization of statehood. Thank you very much.